Picture a kingdom on the brink. A land once ruled by proud kings is now drowning under wave after wave of Viking conquest. From the cold shores of Northumbria to the green heart of Mercia, fire and blood have become the new rulers. England, as it will one day be known, is dying before it's even born. Only one man stands in the ashes of that dying world, a boy who loved books more than blades, a king who would rise from hiding in a swamp to command the respect of empires. He wasn't meant to be king. He certainly wasn't meant to survive. But Alfred of Wessex would become more than a man. He would become a legend. This is the story of the only English monarch ever called the Great. This is King Alfred. From pilgrimage to purpose. Alfred was born in 849 in the royal estate of Wantage, the youngest of 5 royal brothers. He was never meant to rule. His destiny, at least on paper, was to serve. But Alfred was no ordinary child. While his brothers trained with swords and hunted boar in the forests of Wessex, Alfred was drawn to something rarer in a warrior's world: wisdom. He listened when others shouted, he read when others fought. At the age of 4, he undertook a pilgrimage to Rome with his father. There, Pope Leo IV is said to have anointed him, blessing him as future king of the Anglo-Saxons. Whether prophecy or coincidence, the seed of destiny was planted. Alfred returned not just with memories of Roman grandeur, but with a vision of what a kingdom could be: ordered, learned, just. But visions don't stop swords, and the storm was coming. In 865, the earth shook. The great heathen army, an unprecedented coalition of Viking warbands, landed in East Anglia. They weren't here to loot and leave. They came to stay. They crushed Northumbria. They shattered Mercia. They beheaded kings and burned cathedrals. England, as it existed, was ending. Alfred, still a prince, stood beside his older brother King Ethelred as they tried to defend Wessex, the last free kingdom in Britain. Battle after battle they fought. They won at Ashdown, lost at Reading. The tide never stopped. Then, in 871, Ethelred died. Young Alfred, barely 21, suddenly became king of what? A land on fire, a people divided, and an enemy that knew no fear. He could have fled, others did, but Alfred stayed. In the winter of 878, the nightmare deepened. Viking warlord Guthrum launched a surprise attack during the Christian holy season. It was swift, it was brutal. Wessex collapsed. Alfred, king no longer, fled into the marshes of Athelney, Somerset. He was homeless, exiled, hunted. And yet here in the mud and frost, Alfred began to forge the England of tomorrow. He didn't disappear. He listened. He gathered spies, scouts, farmers, monks. He built a resistance in the heart of nowhere. He rebuilt the idea of a nation. And then there's the legend, the one where a peasant woman scolds Alfred for letting her cakes burn while he's lost in thought. The king, humiliated, says nothing, because Alfred knew ego builds nothing, humility builds kingdoms. And in the marshes, the Marsh King began to rise, the shield wall of destiny. When spring came in 878, Alfred emerged like a ghost reborn. He summoned the Third, the People's Army. They met at Egbert Stone in Wiltshire, and for the first time in months, hope stirred in Wessex. Farmers left their ploughs, blacksmiths laid down hammers, priests took up swords. The army of a lost kingdom stood again. At Edington, Alfred faced Guthrum in one final desperate clash. Shield met shield, axe met bone. The Viking berserkers screamed, but they did not break Alfred's line. When the time came, Alfred led the charge. He did not watch from the rear, he fought at the front. Guthrum's army shattered. The siege that followed broke their will. But Alfred didn't just defeat his enemy, he converted him. Guthrum was baptized into Christianity. Alfred stood as godfather. The man who had once hunted him was now bound by oath, by faith, and by fear. The king who built a future. With the invaders pushed back, Alfred could have rested. But true kings don't stop at survival, they build. Alfred began transforming Wessex into a kingdom that could withstand the next storm. He built burhs, fortified towns every 20 miles, connected by roads and defended by law. He reorganized the military, creating a rotation system so one half always defended while the other half worked the fields. He constructed warships, fast, lean, unlike anything the Vikings had seen. It was the birth of the English Navy, and then came law. Alfred compiled the Doom Book, a legal code that blended Christian values, ancient tradition, and common sense. It was more than law. It was a moral compass for a nation. The sword had saved Wessex, but the pen would ensure it never fell again. The sword and the scroll. For Alfred, the battlefield was not only of blood, but of the mind. He looked around and saw a problem more dangerous than Vikings: ignorance. Most priests couldn't read, most nobles couldn't write, even his own court lacked learning. So Alfred did something no warrior king had done before. He became a teacher. He translated the great texts of the ancient world: Boethius, Gregory the Great, Augustine. He wrote introductions in his own words, simple, wise, powerful. He invited scholars from all corners of Britain to teach in his court. He made education not a luxury, but a duty. What is the point of a kingdom, he asked, if its people cannot read? Alfred ruled with ink and sword, knowing both could shape the future. The unmarked grave of a king. In 899, the man who had once ruled from the shadows died quietly. His body, worn by illness, finally gave way. He was around 50, young by today's measure, ancient for his time. He was buried in Winchester, beneath a church of his own making, but centuries later, during the upheavals of the Reformation, his tomb was destroyed, his bones scattered, lost. For 1,000 years, archaeologists have searched, but they have never found Alfred's final resting place. And maybe that's the point, because Alfred was never just a man. He was a builder of nations, a quiet flame in an age of darkness. He was the soul of a country still being born, and such men do not need monuments. Their monument is memory. The Great. In the long tapestry of England's history, kings rise and fall. Many are forgotten, but Alfred endures, not because he conquered vast lands, not because he ruled for decades, but because he understood what a kingdom should be: just, educated, strong. When darkness came, he lit a candle. When chaos reigned, he wrote law. When despair loomed, he held the line. He taught a scattered people to believe in something more than themselves, and in doing so, he didn't just save England, he made it. And so, the story of Alfred the Great draws to a close. A king who defied invasion, reshaped a kingdom, and laid the foundation for what would become England. From the chaos of Viking raids to the quiet wisdom of law and learning, Alfred was more than just a warrior, he was a visionary. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into the past, please like, subscribe, and share this video. It really helps the channel grow and brings more hidden histories to light. If you have thoughts on Alfred's legacy or suggestions for future topics, drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep exploring hidden histories and mysteries.